Hello everyone and welcome to ZP Productions, and today I'll be reviewing the Warwick Bravura system here. Now you notice that the color is different, and that's because this is the original Sonoma M1 amplifier and this is the Bravura headphone itself. Now I took both of these out together because you have to use them together. Today, if you buy a Bravura headphone, you have to buy a Sonoma amp, unless, like me, you own the original, then you do not need to buy it. But if not, you have to buy the amp, and this setup here would have cost you about 6,000 to 6,700 USD depending on your color. The black color actually does cost more. Now, if you buy the silver, it costs 6,000, which is cheaper slightly, but you know, it's still a very expensive purchase if you ask me. But if you have the M1 amp like me here, then the headphone only costs about 2,000 USD. And if you buy the black one, 2,400 to 2,500 USD. It is more expensive in black, just to note. But, you know, I'll talk about the black coating here a little bit later because I have some issues with it. But let's talk about something else first. Let's talk about its general build quality. What do you get out of paying this kind of money, right? So in terms of build quality, first, the amplifier here, this is the M1 amp. I assume that the new version will still be the same. Based on what I've seen, it's still the same exact amplifier. It has a DAC, ESS DAC inside. It has, you know, in fact, let me show you guys. So you have a digital in, you have another digital in, then you have analog ins. This is the on-off switch, which have the nicest sound. Let me, you know, play it for you. This is the nicest sounding and feeling switch I have ever touched. It feels so nice to play with the switch. Okay, but you know, you get my point. And then the amp itself is very simple. Grills, and then the front of the amp. Now, the silver version has a plate like this, and the black version, I remember, have a badge because I saw it at the shop. But you know, this is how the front of it look like. This is I forgot what is this exact connection, but it's something that you can actually purchase off the shelf. It's not so unique and special. It's just a bit more expensive than XLRs, and it does connect very securely. And then the switch is the same. This is digital and analog, and then it has a very nice volume knob. Overall, I think the amp feels good and sounds good, and it's nice to use. The only thing is the switch is the back. So, you know, if the switch was at the front, it would have been slightly better. But if not, this is meant to be a desktop that is probably not off forever. So I don't think they ever thought of why they should put the switch in front. Just put behind on one time and leave it forever there. Since you anyway cannot switch this amp with anything else for this headphone has to be used with this amp. So maybe that's why they just left the switch behind, because you're going to put this amp there forever. Nobody's going to just cold storage this $8,000 setup for no good reason. Or wait, 6,000 USD setup, 8,000 plus Sing dollar setup for no good reason. I mean, you will probably not cold storage that, right? Okay, I just have let you guys see a brief of this amp. So now let's talk about the headphone itself. The headphone itself is a very well built headphone. Let me show you guys here. You notice that you can actually bend the cups. You can twist the cups a bit. And notice that if I let it rest, the band has this particular shape here. And then it does stretch a bit and does contract a bit, but not much. It does extend at the side here. Show you. And same thing for this side. Right. The foam is quite nice. You can see. Nice thick foam, unlike the M1. M1 doesn't have much foam. And then nice foam here. So I think this foam is actually softer than the M1's version. The M1 version actually is quite hard. Right. And it does bend backward and forward. And I love the color. Look at this. Grey color grills, orange internal cover, I don't know what is it. And then very nice black matted cup with, you know, the foam itself, the ear cups. Really, really nice. So then, what is the issue I'm talking about just now, right? Look at the black itself. Let me zoom in more to show you guys. Now, if you see there's this thing here. Now, this, if you ask me, is just probably wear and tear. I can accept it. Now, the coating just get worn off because you rub against some material. Just a note that this headphone has been used for a few months already. So such a wear and tear is pretty much expected. I mean, I won't have much complaint if it's just like that. But even then, right, I think some people may be very angry to have a wear and tear just after a few months of usage at this level. It's still black, the metal is black inside. It's no different. This is matte and this is shiny. Now, the problem is the other side. Let me show you. Same thing, you notice that this wear and tear here, the coating has come out. But notice where the other coating is peeling. It's peeling at this side. It's peeling on top here, which cannot be wear and tear. I mean, nobody touches that portion. And notice here, this bubbling. This bubbling, you can move around the bubbles. So this is going to tear soon. Same for here. So notice that the cup has no wear and tear. So what it does show, right, is that the coating is coming out for the parts, the arms. My understanding is that this headphone is made of magnesium coupled with some carbon fiber, nylon, I believe. Nylon, I think this headband is nylon. And some mixture of metals. So most likely is that this metal arm here coating is not good. It's coming off. It's peeling. And this is a manufacturer flaw. Because the last time I seen such a thing before, this is actually closer to what I experienced with one of my lenses from Fujifilm, the GFX 110. It also has the coating that keeps peeling like this. And when I spoke to the manufacturer, they actually agreed to replace the entire shell of the lens itself. Because the coating is not meant to be. This is a manufacturer fault. This is definitely not a wear and tear. Because wear and tear, I can accept the wear and tear is like this, it's like small little amount, or even like this, small little amount. Even this amount is a bit too much if you ask me, because the other side is lesser. Notice that it's not even for side to side, and then the other side is notice that it comes out like this. But this is crazy. This is crazy amount of coating that's going to peel off. So the coating on the black arms are not really good. The coating on the rest of the thing, the shell, the band, no issues, just the arms. So just to note that if you're going to buy a black headphone, this matte black is not true matte black on the metal. Some portion is just a coating, and this coating may peel. Now, I'm not sure whether the manufacturer, Warwick, is going to do anything about it. See whether is this a problem that can be fixed. But if not, yeah, this is probably the only disappointment in build quality I have. And this is probably the only reason why I'm going to mark it down for build quality, because for a price of 2,000 USD, I have not seen a single headphone at 2,000 USD that have a wear and tear that is as ugly as this. I literally say it's as ugly as this. This wear and tear, especially look at this. Look at the amount of wear the coating came out. So I can even peel the coating, that's crazy. But yeah, that's something to note. But that's about it for the zoom in complaints about the build quality. The reason why I'm still using it, I'm still keeping it, because it sounds fantastic. And well, my distributor is quite nice to me. So I wouldn't complain too much on that. But I hope Warwick can address this issue. At least give me an answer on whether can they do something about it. I mean, it's just changing the arms is probably not too hard. It probably costs very little money too. Okay, that's really about it for the build quality. Now, comfort-wise, nope, this is not a comfortable headphone. This comfort level for this headphone is on par with my Abyss 1266. You've been wondering, how can this and this be the same in comfort level? Because, wow, to me, the clamp force on this headphone is just way too high. Notice, as I said, the amount of movement you can do with this headphone is quite limited, especially the sideways one. And its clamp force is really, really hard on the head. The original M1 is even worse. This is better, but it's still bad. I'll give it a comfort level that barely passed, same as the Abyss 1266, of like 3 points. If you ask me comfort level, 3 points, out of 5. But definitely it's not going to be very good unless you have a small head. Now, if you have a small head, this will be fantastic. It'll be comfortable because the cushion and everything comfortable. But if you have a somewhat bigger head, this is not comfortable. And I think you can read other reviews online. There are people who actually commented the same thing as me, so it's not a unique to me problem. So, that's something to note. Okay, that is comfort issue. I mean, other than that, the comfort is okay. I mean, it rotates, it shapes to the head. The only problem is the clamp force is a bit too hard for me. And to me, that gives it one of the lowest rating I can ever give for most good headphones, because I don't know why they have such a clamp force. But, okay, that's really about it. Now let's talk about the more important part of a headphone, which is sound quality. When it comes to sound quality, it's always as a set here. the amp and the headphone together. This amp has a DAC built-in, and if you ask me, that's the right way to do it. Use the DAC built-in. The reason is very simple. The analog in will get converted to digital, do some processing, and then converted to analog again, which means that you're going to get the digital effect of the chip anyway. You know, you can't run away from that. So might as well just use the digital part of things. At least that's how this amp works, you know. Everything of this amp is actually digital internally, and only the output stage is analog. And the initial input stage is analog. So use the digital stage itself. You won't be able to run away from the DAC that's built into this amplifier. But okay, the sound quality is as a whole, and let's talk about it. Now, before I start, I will say that this setup has been used with a variety of songs. I use soundtracks from both games, from animes, from movies, and I also listen to pop songs, J-pop, anime songs, a bunch of them. I will have the list here, and when I'm talking about those songs, when I'm reviewing certain sections of the headphones, I will actually show you on the left-hand side of the screen. And also to just let you guys understand about sound quality a little bit, is that sound quality don't live in a vacuum. I mean, when you say this is good, it has to be good in comparison to something else. It's very hard to say that this is the best sounding. It's like super clear. But the thing is that our sound memory is terrible. So the only way to know that this is truly good is that you have other headphones that are good, known to be good, and you compare against them. So I do have quite a good headphones here. This is the Abyss 1266 OG. I have also the Atrium open here, and you can see at the side here, this is of course the Moondrop Para, nothing impressive, but this is the Verite close, and this is the CA1A. I also have some other headphones such as the HG 650s and the Diana Fees and what's not. They're not here, but just to note that when I say this is good, it is good in comparison to other headphones. If I say this is the best, this is also in comparison with the other headphones I own, this is the best. And to know what headphones I own, well, check out my head file link in my description below, and you can see all the headphones I own in my signature there. But let's talk about the sound quality. And I just want to summarize in one thing, that if you are here for sound quality and you don't want to just listen me ramble throughout like just the start just now, then I'll say the sound quality of this headphone is probably one of the best you can actually purchase at a price that is not more than 10,000. Other headphones, right, require you to purchase good amplifiers that match them or that sound as good as them, or maybe you need to fiddle with some EQ and stuff. But this setup here is really good. The manufacturer has done all necessary processing and give you the outcome that is desirable. So that's something to note. You know, the sound quality here is really, 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 really good. And for a setup that is 6,000 USD, this may be as good as it gets for a setup. Now, this may not be the best because there are ways to beat it with other setups, but that may cost a lot more and it may be a preference thing, right? But if not, I'll just outright say this is probably as good as it gets. Okay, so now let's talk about the individual part of sound, right? First, let's talk about clarity. I mean, electrostats are known to be very clear, very, very clear, very clean and clear sound. And yes, the Warwick system here, the Bravura, will not disappoint you on that. It is super clear. It's very clear compared to almost anything I own. The only headphone that probably sound anywhere as clear as this is the Abyss 1266 I have here, and the CA1A, which is somewhere around there. The clarity of this headphone is truly phenomenal. Every instrument, every vocal, every item in the song can be very distinctly heard and is accurate, doesn't sound veiled in any way, sounds like it should be. It's very accurate, very clear. That's the clarity of this headphone here. And I say it because I actually went to compare it too. And this is not artificially clear. It's not like a boost in certain frequency to have the perceived clarity. This is actually clear because the instruments are so distinct, the vocals are so separated. It is really, really clear. The clarity is insane here, and the tonality is so right for everything here. Which leads on to the next part, the tonality, the timbre of this headphone. This headphone is neutral with a slight touch of warmth. And if you want to ask me where it sits between the 1266 and the Atrium Open, somewhere in between them. In terms of its neutrality and with a slight touch of warmness, this headphone sits somewhere in between them. This headphone, however, is way more balanced than the 1266. The 1266, yes, it's a neutral headphone, but it's seriously unbalanced. It has a very V-shaped, high emphasis on bass and quite sparkly. Not too sparkly until it's sibilant, but no, quite sparkly. But this guy here is just neutral. It is neutral warm, and balance-wise also neutral. It is very neutral, very non-emphasis on anything throughout the entire spectrum. In fact, it sounds very close to the Atrium Open, just that the Atrium Open is probably not as clear and a bit more warm than this headphone itself. So that's the difference. It is very, very neutral sounding. And then if you talk about its details, the details of this headphone, just like its clarity, is phenomenal. No other headphone is more detailed than this headphone that I've tried. When I talk about detail, I talk about details from the entire spectrum, from low to mids to high. Now, some headphones are very detailed in the mids and high, like the CA-1A. But in the lows, this guy is super detailed. Its texture in the lows are just fantastic. The separation and the distinctness of low-level instruments, be it synthesized sub-bass or a drum hit or a bass guitar, this guy is very, very clear there, very detailed there. You can hear the difference between the bass instruments, and even if it's very soft. So one of the track I have was this track from The Witch of Mercury. It's literally called The Witch of Mercury. And in the 3-minute plus mark, there is actually these drums at the bottom left-hand side that plays. 3-minute plus mark. These drums occasionally get lost because, you know, the mix is actually quite, I would say, as complex at that point of time. And during then you will hear the drum disappear. Well, in this particular headphone, the drums will never disappear. At most, it gets softer. It gets a bit covered by the instruments, but you can always hear the drums. The details are just outstanding there. And then when it comes to mids and highs, no fight too. I think this is as detailed as it gets. Now, but at the mids and highs, there are a lot of other headphones that are as detailed as this. I would say as the Abyss, well, pretty much the same. The Dynafi, very close. The CA-1A at the mids and highs are probably as detailed as these two. So, you know, that's something to note, that when it comes to details, the reason why this is the most detailed headphone is because it's detailed throughout the entire spectrum. No biasness. There are some headphones that are not as detailed in the highs, more detailed in the mids. There are some headphones that are more detailed in the highs, less detailed in the mids. But this headphone is truly detailed throughout the entire spectrum. And it's not an artificial detail that you crank up the volume to get it. It's just so clean, so clear across the entire spectrum for every single instrument. Then we talk about separation. Just like the detail, the separation between all instruments are distinct. You can focus on any one instrument you want, and you can focus it throughout the entire, I would say, as phrase or verse of the song. So this is something that is quite impressive. Now, is this the most separated headphone? No. There is actually a headphone, which is the Verite Close stabilized. Why I say stabilized? Because the stabilized and non-stabilized actually sounds slightly different to me. And then with an Enlem HPA 23RM running on current mode. Very, very unique requirement, but that setup actually separates even better. It's so distinct until it's disorientating at times to like me and my wife. My wife actually heard it for the first time for the Verite Close and felt that that was insanely separated. And it's like, why things are so separated? You know, why things are so distinct? So that may not be a great thing, you know, but technicality, right? We're talking about technicality here. And separation-wise, this is as separated as it gets in a very comfortable way. There is a headphone that is more separated than this, and that is the Verite Close, stabilized with the 23RM in current mode. Same for positioning. This headphone is also very well positioned. I hear the song One Wing Angel. If you have not heard it before, do go and listen. This is a song from Final Fantasy VII. It has one of the nicest orchestra songs, a lot of chanting, and then a lot of instruments running all around the scene. Positioning for this headphone is very good. You can hear where every single instrument is. However, once again, it's just the same as the separation. The Verite Close stabilized does beat it. That one is pinpoint precision This is not. This is good positioning. You know where it's coming from, but it's not like pinpoint, not like exactly at this angle here. That's the difference. Okay. Then we talk about soundstage. This headphone has a very big soundstage. If you hear the song, once again, The Wish from Mercury, but maybe some other song like Suzume, right? Those are very soft, light, airy song meant to have large soundstage. And in this headphone, the soundstage is big and immersive. The soundstage of this headphone is comparable to the Atrium Open, also one of the biggest soundstage headphones that you can actually get in the market today. The only, I would say, as headphone that feels bigger than this in terms of the overall sound is the CA1A. That feels like utterly, insanely open. It just feels big in every way. But that headphone feels very diffuse, while this feels very focused still, just very big in the sound. Focus yet no large sound. That feels just open sound. That is it for the the broad level one. Let's talk about the low, mids, and highs. The lows on this headphone is very good, very well textured. The bass hits hard, and if the bass have any form of texture, you can hear it very distinctly, very clearly. So one of the songs that I listen to is I Really Want to Stay With You. I think that's actually a song from Cyberpunk. And the version that I listen to is the one from the Cyberpunk anime series on Netflix. So that song itself has a lot of synthetic bass, and the synthetic bass on this is very nice. It has this very rippling sound, and on this headphone it sounds absolutely gorgeous there. I don't know, man, electronic bass, but it sounds damn good. And then there is other songs like The Brave, which have a lot of fast hitting bass. The impact on this headphone is good, it's fast, it's clean, it's crisp, and it sounds great. It sounds great. Compared to, let's say, the Atrium Open, on the other hand, the Atrium Open is also fast hitting and very clean too. But if you talk about really absolute cleanness, when you listen to both of them side by side, like swapping headphones, you'll find that this is even cleaner. This is like very precise bass itself, very precise and controlled bass. Now, there is, of course, the 1266 that has very fun bass. It is deep, powerful, punchy. But when you hear the control itself, it can be a little bit more flabby than this headphone. This headphone is totally in control. This headphone just let it rips. So there's a difference, right? Okay, that's all. In lows, I think this headphone is really nice. It's well balanced. It's not emphasizing anything in the bass. Very clean, very textured, very separated. In terms of bass separation, I think this is one of the best. In terms of bass texture, this is also one of the best. Impact, it's very clean and controlled, but can be gotten in other headphones. But in terms of quantity, definitely not the most quantity, and definitely in terms of funness, it's not the most fun, because the 1266 here is way more fun. Now, when it comes to the mids, I would say it's very nice, smooth, airy, but most importantly, very natural, with no sibilance in the higher mids. I think that if you are into female vocals, this sounds really good because it's slightly warm to me. Very nice, smooth, airy sound. But that being said, I do slightly prefer the Atrium Open on that. This is slightly, that is actually slightly smoother and more appealing to me for female vocals. But if not, this is very nice for vocals. But when it comes to instrument, I think this is the best. It feels natural. When I listen to Ultima, for example, also another orchestra piece with a lot of instruments and a chanting choir behind, sounds perfect on these headphones. All the mid instruments are so clean. And when you hear another song like Shatter Me, that one has a lot of violins, and then the singing on this headphone, really, really realistic violin, really nice female vocals that is like high-pitched type. No sibilance still, very enjoyable. So the mids are just good to me. Now, in treble-wise, treble, well, I'm not very particular about treble, I have to say the truth. And in terms of treble, I think that this is good. It's very clean, it's very clear. The treble instruments, like the bells, the cymbals, feel very realistic. I think that's the important part of the treble region. A lot of times cymbals sometimes feel a bit fake. It feels a bit, I don't know, plasticky sound. I don't know how to put it. But that's the difference between a good headphone with good treble and a bad headphone for treble, is that sometimes the cymbals and the bells just don't sound correct, don't sound realistic, it sounds like plastic, it sounds very fragile. This headphone doesn't make it sound that. So I do think that the treble is pretty good. But that said, this headphone doesn't emphasize on treble. In fact, it's quite tame on the treble if you ask me. So, well, if you are into a lot of treble, this headphone may not be something that you like. But if not, I think it's pretty good. So as you can see, the low, mids and highs, so far you heard what I said, it's always about control, balance, realism, organic. You know, this headphone is really, it is really right. Everything you hear on this headphone feels right. It's so right that the moment you switch to other headphone, you know that it is not as right. But they are fun. They are enjoyable, but not as right. This just feels right. So if you're the type that wants the right feeling type of sound, this may be it. Now, just to note that even though this headphone feels right, it doesn't mean it is right. Because we do not know what is the basis that the, I'll say as the editor, the mixer, or the artist wants to actually portray. Because the way they mix, depending on what sound system they're using, may actually sound different. If they use a warmer headphone, a warmer speaker, then they may actually expect a warmer sound, and this may not give you. So just note that this sounds realistic, this sounds maybe organic, if you want to put it that way. This sounds right, but this may not actually be right. It depends on you. So most importantly, always aim for the sound that you enjoy, sound that you like, rather than trying to find the most right sound. Right sound is not always the most right thing anyway, you know. But I do enjoy this tone a lot. I do enjoy the realism that I get out of it. I do enjoy the whole distinct detail, clarity, separation, and soundstage that coming from it. I think this is a combination of all the good things from many different headphones put together. It's like it takes the soundstage of a HD800, but the clarity of something like the, maybe say, the CA1A or the DCA Stealth, the clarity there. And then it takes some of the nicer bass elements from dynamic headphones such as the Atrium Open and put them all together in a nice headphone itself. And it never overdoes anything, not like the 1266 here that overdoes a lot of things, but this guy just does everything just nice, just right, just enough. And that is really where I want to end my sound description. This is the headphone that, if you ask me from the tonality point, I'll give it full marks. From the technicality points, I'll probably also give it full marks. 10 upon 10, 10 upon 10 for both of them. But for enjoyment wise, I will say I will give it maybe 8 to 9 marks upon 10. Slightly lower, it's not perfect. It's not the most enjoyable headphones. In fact, I would say as the Abyss 126 is actually more fun to listen, more enjoyable at times. Or even the Atrium Open can be more enjoyable at times. So it is definitely not the most enjoyable headphone. I think the Abyss is slightly higher in that aspect. But it is a really nice headphone in every single way. And if you enjoy this sound signature, you may think it's the most enjoyable headphones too. This is not like the Susvara, which I feel very airy and ethereal. Sometimes you can also say, some people say it's fragile, but I don't think Susvara is fragile in any way. It's just very airy, overly airy, that sometimes it feels off. But to me, that may be why Susvara is so special. And the difference between Susvara and this one is that this one has that body, that realism in it, you know. So it really depends on individual taste for the headphones itself. Now, with that all said, so how does it compare with its competitors, right? I'll say as if you are looking for fun sound, I think the Abyss is more fun. It is a fun headphone. I will definitely never say this is accurate. It's never accurate anyway. It's also not very comfortable to wear, but it's a very fun sound, very exciting, very exciting sound, I'll say. Now, if you just want to relax and lay back, then I think the Atrium Open may be the better headphone for that. It's very smooth, very calming to listen. I don't know, I just feel very enjoyable to just put on the headphone and don't think too much. Now, if you want something a little bit more like, I'll say as the separation and positioning that is extreme, then maybe the verite close is the alternative. And if you want like airy open sound, then the CA1A may also be the better choice. But if you are just looking for overall best sound, at least for me, this is the overall best sound. And I rate it so high in the sound department that it's currently my number 1 in terms of rating. I do not expose what I rate yet. I'll do it in the future once I review every single thing and then put in the videos properly first. But currently this is the number 1 for all the ratings that I have. It scored really, really high, and that's because its sound quality is just superb. Now there's one last thing I want to touch on and before I end this review, and that is the cables. Now I didn't actually talk about the cables much just now, but it should be part of build quality that I should have covered it, but let me cover it one more time. Now the cables provided uses the special connectors. These are, once again I say, these are not unique connectors. You can probably find the connectors in the market, and the connectors are very robust and good. I think this is a damn good cable, but it's a bit too hard, and you see that it doesn't bend very well, so it's actually really hard to use in real life. So not very comfortable if you ask me again. And then not only that, these cable connectors are really long. Look at this length here. Now if you actually plug into a headphone, look at this, it doesn't bend until here. So this is a really, really long connector. And what happened is that if I was to use it and I was to slouch a little bit, the connectors will actually touch my shoulders and it's not very comfortable. So that is something to note. This headphone in comfort level really not very high. And the cables add on to the not so comfortable thing. And because of its uniqueness, because of its connector that it's using, because that is a high voltage cable, I don't even know whether you can buy a replacement cable for it that is not a Warwick Sonoma cable. But just note that the cable is not enjoyable to use, and I do hope that someday someone comes out with a better cable that is nicer than the one that is given by Warwick. And that's about it. This is the review of the Warwick Bravura headphone system. In terms of score, if you have heard what I've said so far, this headphone scores 36 points upon 40 for me. In the future reviews, I will actually write down the points in Headphone, and I will say the points also at the end of the review, but 36.40 I think is as high as it gets. Now if you want to know more about how I rate, you can go down to Headphone, look at the point system, and you'll understand why this is a superb rating for a headphone itself. And that's about it. If you are in a market for such a headphone, I think this is probably one of the best, but just note of its limitation. Oh yeah, just one last thing. I know this video has stretched really, really long, but because it's such a expensive setup, I need to talk more about it. This headphone do distort, and it distorts at a volume that is, I would say, not unbelievably high. When I was trying out in the review, in one of my soundtrack, Suzume, I think there's a portion, about 3 minutes plus again, that has some sort of a bass and vocals coming in together. I think the total loudness at that point in time may have breached more than 100 over decibel at that very short period of time, and that's where you hear distortion. And the distortion feels something more of an amplifier type of distortion rather than a distortion caused by a headphone. I don't know how to explain it, but it's the electronic type of distortion, like run out of power kind of feel. So some of the reviewers and some of the impressions in trade shows especially, they were talking about how the Bravura sounds distorted during the shows. I think it's because the shows are noisy, the ambient is high. Normal ambient at home is like 40-50 decibels. You know, you won't go above that, in fact, at home. So in the trade show, you may actually reach like 50-60 decibels, and to play to a volume that is good for you, you may actually ramp it up to 80-90 decibels to listen to it. And that's where distortion may come in tracks that have a lot of high-level sub-bass. So that's something to note. This headphone do distort if you listen to high volume. If you listen to low volume, no issues, won't distort, sounds great. If you listen to nominal volume in a semi-quiet environment, it should also be okay. But if you listen to a loud environment, a noisy environment where you need to crank the volume up, it will distort. And if you are a loud listener, it will also distort for you. So that's something to know. If you are a loud listener, like really, really loud, like an average volume of 90 dB, which is obviously not recommended in any way, This headphone will distort for some sounds and you may not find it enjoyable. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this review and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.